The arena lights dimmed, and a wave of cheers rolled across the venue like thunder over calm seas. It was the night boxing fans had been waiting for, the night when two worlds collided. On one side stood John Real Casimero, the Filipino warrior known for his relentless aggression, his unshakable confidence, and that signature smirk before the bell. Across from him was Tomoki Kameda, Japan's pride, disciplined, technical, and fueled by redemption. This wasn't just another fight. It was a story years in the making, pride, rivalry, and a battle for respect between two nations with rich fighting legacies. Casimero wasn't just fighting an opponent, he was fighting history itself. The calm before the storm. As the camera panned across the ring, Casimero's eyes never blinked. He'd been through wars before, world title bouts, foreign crowds, and hostile environments. But tonight felt different. This wasn't just about defending belts or chasing glory, it was about proving a point. In the opposite corner, Kameda stood still, wrapped in Japanese colors, his team whispering last-minute advice. He'd heard Casimero's words, the trash talk, the jabs, the confidence, and tonight, he planned to answer all of it with his fists. Casimero exploded forward like a coiled spring. He wasn't testing the waters, he was making a statement. His right hand snapped out first, followed by a lunging left hook that sliced through the air. Kameda, calm and calculated, sidestepped, letting the punch graze by. He countered sharply, a jab to the body, then another to the head. The crowd erupted. Casimero smiled, that signature grin, almost daring Kameda to throw more. But this was Kameda's game: patience, timing, precision. He moved on his toes, staying just out of range, making Casimero chase. For every wild swing, Kameda's counter landed like a whisper of warning. Midway through the round, Casimero began cutting the ring, cornering his opponent, firing combinations that rattled the ropes. A looping right hand found its mark, the crowd gasped, and for a second, Kameda stumbled. But he recovered instantly, circling out, landing a sharp left hook on the break. Round one was over and both corners knew this fight was going to be war. Casimero came out smiling again, bouncing on his feet. He'd tasted Kameda's power and wasn't impressed. This time, he was the hunter, cutting angles, stepping inside, and launching short, vicious hooks to the body. Kameda responded with speed, a flurry of jabs, snapping Casimero's head back. The crowd roared as both men traded in the center of the ring, punch for punch, pride for pride. It wasn't just boxing anymore, it was ego versus ego. Casimero ducked under a jab and unleashed a brutal right to the ribs. The sound echoed through the arena. Kameda winced, stepping back, trying to reset his rhythm. Casimero smirked again, raised his gloves, and taunted him to come forward. The final seconds of the round saw both men swinging wildly, a storm of leather and fury. When the bell rang, neither man backed down. They stood face to face, breathing heavy, eyes locked, pure respect wrapped in rivalry. This wasn't just a fight. It was a promise. The war had only begun. As the bell rang, Kameda adjusted his stance. He stopped running. He stood his ground. Casimero, confident from the last round, lunged forward, his punches snapping through the air like thunderclaps. But Kameda had been studying. He slipped under a right hand, countered with a left hook to the jaw, and followed with a pinpoint uppercut that snapped Casimero's head back. The crowd gasped. Casimero stepped back, blinking, almost smiling as if to say, "Okay, I see you." The Filipino fighter circled again, changing levels, throwing a jab upstairs and a hook downstairs. But Kameda's timing was razor sharp. He pivoted, fired another crisp counter, and the round ended with both men grinning, two predators realizing they were hunting each other. Round 3 belonged to Kameda. But Casimero's eyes, they burned brighter than ever. Round 4, the storm breaks. By now, sweat glistened on both fighters, the kind of sweat born from tension, fear, and sheer adrenaline. Casimero's corner told him, "Pressure him. Don't let him breathe." He didn't need to be told twice. As soon as the bell sounded, Casimero stormed forward. He threw looping shots, wild but purposeful. A right hand slammed into Kameda's guard, then a left hook whistled by his ear. Kameda tried to circle, but Casimero cut him off, trapping him in the corner. Then came the barrage. Left hook. Right uppercut. Left to the body. Every punch echoed through the crowd like artillery fire. Kameda held tight, blocking what he could, countering when he found space, but the momentum had shifted. Casimero's energy was different now. It wasn't just speed or power, it was fury, built from every word of doubt he'd ever heard. The final seconds of the round saw Casimero land a vicious right hand that snapped Kameda's head sideways. The bell saved him. Kameda stumbled back to his corner, breathing hard. Casimero raised his gloves and shouted something to the crowd, part celebration, part warning. Both fighters came out knowing this could be the turning point. Casimero's aggression was relentless, but Kameda began using it against him. He baited Casimero into overcommitting, stepping just out of range and countering with surgical precision. Midway through the round, Kameda's jab found its rhythm, sharp, fast, punishing. He peppered Casimero's face, forcing him to blink, to reset. Casimero, frustrated but fearless, dug deep to the body, throwing hooks that sounded like baseball bats hitting meat. He wanted to break Kameda's foundation, to slow him down before the championship rounds. In the final 30 seconds, they traded toe-to-toe again, both men refusing to yield. Each punch was personal now, each strike was a message: "You're not better than me." Round 5 was a draw, pure chaos, pure heart. The sweat. The blood. The noise. By round 6, the fight had turned into a war of wills. Casimero's mouth hung open as he breathed through his teeth, his eyes locked on Kameda's. Kameda's footwork had slowed, but his focus had not. He still looked dangerous with every counter punch. Casimero feinted, stepped in, and unleashed a blistering 3-punch combo: right, left, right, landing clean on the jaw. Kameda staggered back, hit the ropes, and immediately fired back. The arena erupted. Every fan was on their feet, chanting, screaming, recording. It wasn't just a fight anymore, it was a storm of pride. Casimero pressed forward again, relentless, fearless. He threw another right hand, and this time, Kameda barely avoided it, clinching to buy a few seconds. When they broke apart, both men smiled through the exhaustion. There was no quit. The bell rang, ding, ending one of the most brutal exchanges of the night. Casimero turned to his corner with fire in his eyes. He knew he had him. Kameda sat down, breathing heavily, his corner icing his ribs, whispering, "Just survive this storm." Through 6 rounds, the war was dead even, but the momentum was tilting toward Casimero. The Filipino beast had found his rhythm, and Kameda knew that the deeper the fight went, the more dangerous it would become. Casimero opened the round with renewed aggression. He smelled fatigue on Kameda, saw it in the way his gloves dropped between jabs, in the half-second delay before he moved his feet. The Filipino champion dug deep to the body again, landing a hard right hand to the ribs, followed by an uppercut that snapped Kameda's head back. The sound echoed across the arena. Kameda fired back straight lefts, counters, and short hooks, but his timing had dulled. Casimero's pressure was suffocating now. Every time Kameda tried to breathe, Casimero was there punching, moving, smirking. By the final 10 seconds, Casimero had Kameda pinned on the ropes, launching hooks in bunches. The crowd rose to their feet, screaming as the bell rang. Kameda stumbled back to his corner, blood trickling from his lip. Casimero stood center ring, arms wide, eyes blazing. The tide had officially turned. Kameda's corner begged him to stay disciplined, to move, to jab, but his legs were heavy now. Casimero sensed weakness and stalked him like a lion. Every feint, every step, every punch was designed to break Kameda's will. But Kameda refused to fold. Midway through the round, he fired a surprise combination jab, cross, left hook, catching Casimero clean on the chin. Casimero nodded, smiled, and pointed to his jaw as if to say, "Do it again." That's the thing about fighters like Casimero, pain doesn't slow them, it fuels them. He charged back, throwing a furious right hand that sent Kameda backpedaling into the ropes. The bell rang. The crowd erupted again. It wasn't boxing anymore, it was survival at its rawest form. By round 9, the fight had turned into something primal. Casimero was walking through punches, landing thunderous body shots that made the crowd wince. Kameda, though battered, showed his warrior heart, still trading, still trying to find the perfect counter. Then came the moment that silenced the arena. Casimero feinted left, dipped low, and unleashed a monstrous right hook. It landed flush on Kameda's jaw. Kameda's legs buckled, he stumbled backward, nearly fell, but somehow stayed on his feet. Casimero jumped in for the finish, flurries, uppercuts, hooks, a blur of motion and violence. Kameda clinched, holding on with every ounce of strength he had left. The referee broke them apart as the bell sounded. Kameda wobbled back to his stool, his corner frantic. Casimero, on the other hand, looked possessed. He wasn't just trying to win. He was trying to make history. The crowd could sense it, the end was near. Casimero's punches now carried the rhythm of inevitability. Kameda's defense cracked more with every exchange. Still, Kameda refused to back down. He threw short counters, landed jabs, even smiled through swollen lips. He wasn't here to quit. He was here to prove that he belonged in the same air as Casimero. The round ended with both men trading bombs at center ring, their gloves heavy, their eyes hollow. The kind of exhaustion that only warriors know. Casimero's corner urged him, "Finish it now. Don't let it go to the cards." He nodded once, his chest rising and falling like a war drum. When the bell rang, he came out hunting for the knockout. Every punch was thrown with bad intentions. He stalked Kameda, cutting him off, firing body shots that echoed across the ring. Kameda was hurt, no question, but he refused to fall. He clinched, moved, countered. He fought like a man who'd rather die than bow. With 10 seconds left, Casimero landed another brutal combination that rocked Kameda's head back. The bell saved him again, but his legs were gone. The Japanese warrior stumbled to his corner as Casimero raised his gloves to the crowd. The noise was deafening. Everyone knew what was coming. The final bell rang, and both men met in the center one last time. No more strategy. No more defense. Just heart. Casimero fired the first punch, a looping right. Kameda answered with a jab. Then another. They stood toe-to-toe, trading shots until the sound of leather drowned out the roar of the fans. Sweat, blood, and willpower painted the canvas beneath their feet. The final seconds ticked away. Casimero unleashed one last barrage: hooks, uppercuts, crosses. Kameda stayed standing, swinging back until the bell echoed through the hall. The war was over.